Hey everybody, I think most of you know me by this point, but in case you don't, my name is Blaine Russell. I'm the Director of Music at Fletcher UMC, and a couple of folks have requested that they want to know a little bit more about my process and how I go about selecting music for worship services. And so I thought we would do a little bit of a video today just to sort of share a little bit of my process and how that works and how I go about doing that. You might think that my process has changed a lot during the pandemic, and while certainly certain elements have, the basics of it have pretty much stayed the same. And so I want to just sort of share a little bit of that. Usually when I am planning music for a service, I'm very thankful to have a minister at the church who always sends me stuff ahead of time, so I always know what his scriptures are going to be and his sermon themes and things like that. So usually I start with that. I start with the scriptures and the sermon themes, which I have here on a sheet of paper for me to use. And then I have a wonderful resource that I always have with me for worship planning, and this is the United Methodist Music and Worship Planner. This is compiled every year for United Methodist church musicians, and so this is the 2020 and 2021 edition, and it's a really wonderful resource because every week, and really for every service in the church, not just Sunday morning services, but for every service in the church, there is an entry that has all of the lectionary scriptures for the day, and then it has a lot of other recommendations. And so usually what I do is I start with whatever the scripture is for that week. And so, like for example, for this coming Sunday, we're using Philippians chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. And so I will study the scripture, and a lot of times I'll start and just see if, as I read the scripture, do any ideas for music come to my head, just in the library of things that I know in my head. And sometimes something will just stand out to me, and I'll say, okay, this would be the perfect song for that Sunday. And, I think that's just, God sort of inserting those thoughts there into my head of knowing what the perfect song might be for worship. So sometimes things do just come to me from reading the scriptures and studying them. But then I also have you have a wonderful page here that gives you a lot of song recommendations, because sometimes you do need to get some recommendations. So we have right here the primary songs for the day, and then some additional recommendations of hymns, and some more song suggestions over here, and then even a couple of anthem suggestions. And there's even suggestions for altar visuals and just liturgical dance, and all different kind of things that can be done in worship. And so this is a really wonderful resource. And so usually I start with this book, and I think one of the most important things to express is that it's very important that the music fit the theme of the day, that it fits the sermon, that it fits the scripture, that it's all helps to provide a cohesive worship experience for everyone. And so often I will use two primary songbooks when I'm selecting our congregational songs: our United Methodist Hymnal, which you all know very, very well as you see it in the pews. This was published in 1989 and is still a very helpful resource that I use very, very often, every single Sunday. And then not as often, but still pretty often, I use our songbooks that are another United Methodist songbook called The Faith We Sing. And I use this one a lot as well. This one is also in our pews, and so we sing out of this one quite a bit also. And then when I don't get songs from these two, I will occasionally get a song from a different songbook, like the Upper Room Worship Book or something like that. And so there are other resources out there that we occasionally pull from as well, but most importantly, it's finding songs that fit well with the sermon and the scripture and the theme of the day, and finding songs that we know will connect with people. And that doesn't always necessarily mean songs that people know, because it is nice to do songs that are familiar and songs that we all know really well, but sometimes it's just as nice to introduce a new hymn, to stumble across a new hymn that has an absolutely beautiful text that fits very well with the day, and you just want to use that to sort of inspire the congregation and to introduce something new to them. Learning new music in church is a very good thing. So that's usually where I start, and with picking out hymns for the day. We've now moved into a different area of the music suite, and this is our music storage room, and we're sort of in the process of kind of completely revamping this room, and we sort of have been the whole time we've been in this new space. We're finally getting a new sort of system for all of our choral anthems, and we have a lot of them, as you can see behind me. So we're working on a new filing system for them, and Mary Beth Hockey's been very helpful with that, helping me with a lot of data entry so we can have a nice online resource when I'm selecting anthems, as opposed to me having to thumb through everything that we have. A lot of times I can just now go into a new Google document and I can search keywords and things like that, and it will help me remember all the things that we have in our choral library. And so that's going to be a very helpful resource to have. So this is a lot of our choral anthems behind us. Not all of them. We're still in the process of working on this. But so often the next thing that I'll do is I'll select an anthem. And so usually when I'm reading the scriptures and reflecting on the themes of the day, an anthem will come to mind. Sometimes it's one that we already have here that I've done before, and sometimes it's one that I may know but we don't have, and so I'll purchase it and order copies for our choir to learn. And so, there's tons of music out there, lots of new stuff that I don't even know about, and so sometimes I just kind of do an internet search and see, based on certain titles and keywords, what kind of music I can find, or by particular composers and things like that. Another important thing I think to stress is that the most important thing when we're planning music for these worship services is to make sure that the music serves the text and the theme well, even if it's not necessarily music that I like or that the congregation knows, or and that sort of thing, because I've picked anthems before that even I don't like, but if they serve the day well and will be a really perfect addition to the worship service, then that's what's most important, is that it serves God and not that it serves me, and not even that it serves the congregation. And so that's something that even I have to remind myself sometimes when I'm picking music. I'll say, I don't necessarily want to do this piece because I don't love it from a musical perspective, but it works so perfectly for the day that I know it's a good addition. And so this is often where I come to pick out our choral anthems or our handbell pieces. They're also in this room as well. You can't see it, but and so like I said, we're still in the process of getting this all organized and getting it completely ready to go. But we're grateful to have this space to organize and to put all of our music, and to have a nice place that's cohesive where we can go to find everything. Well, that's just a little bit of my process, just a little glimpse into how worship planning from a musical perspective happens here at Fletcher UMC. And I hope you enjoy getting to learn a little bit about this. As I have stressed before, most importantly, my goal is to be sure to help provide a cohesive worship experience with the music that I select and the music that the various groups in our church present as part of the worship services. And so if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me by email or by phone if you ever want to hear a little bit more about just about my process and about how we plan things here at Fletcher UMC. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of the week.